In this video, we're actually going to write the intro, body, and conclusion. And as we do that, I'm going to go through each one of these, starting with the intro and what we need to do. So let's take a look here. This was the original argument, so you should know this well. In the previous video we went through here, we brainstormed the fallacies, what made the argument weak. And now that we have all that information, or that you've seen that video hopefully, we are going to be able to write our essay, starting with the intro. The key here, you'll notice this is similar to the issue. Keep the intro short and sweet. And really, all you're going to be using is what I call the standard or boilerplate language. It's pretty similar throughout, and it goes something more or less like this. The following argument is flawed for numerous reasons. You can more or less use that wording, but I encourage you, just to avoid plagiarism, to capture the gist of this, but just put this in your own words. Essentially, when you actually write the argument, or write the intro to the argument, it's not going to be any longer than this. This is already pretty long. Notice I start off with the following argument is flawed for numerous reasons. Reword that, and then just say, maybe cite specifically what it does. What's the big thing? Well, in this case, it assumes that the two cities are the same, and therefore its conclusion is not valid. That's all we're doing. Don't think about this too much. Do not worry about this. Just get that out, and then you want to come to the important part, and that, of course, is the body. And here, what we're doing is we're focusing on three logical fallacies. We brainstormed more than that, but the three strongest ones, and starting with what you think is the strongest ones, so how you should do it. So in terms of body paragraphs, we're going to have 3 body paragraphs, a paragraph for each fallacy, and then just as importantly, in those paragraphs, in each paragraph, you don't want to just say what's wrong with the argument, where the holes are, but you want to say, what could the argument do to be strengthened? How would you strengthen the argument? So we're going to go through, and we're going to see how this holds up, starting with the fallacy number 1. Littleville and Vicksburg are similar. So this is the fallacy number 1 we picked up on, something that falls under the whole apples aren't oranges sort of thing. And what we're going to do here is look at the actual paragraph, how this works out. And again, this is the meat of your essay, the most important part. And so here we go on again, sort of a little bit of jargon. The argument fails to provide any justification that the two cities are similar in terms of their respective populations. For one, the residents of Vicksburg may be wealthier than those of Littleville. This important difference could explain the success of Vicksburg's mall. So I'll stop reading there, but essentially I'm talking about why the argument is lacking, why you cannot assume that the two cities are the same. And here I give a specific reason about Littleville is maybe a middle or a lower class city where people just don't have that much money. So if you're going to have these boutique stores, etc., with wealthy customers, probably not going to work out in Littleville. So again, fallacy number 1, I'm addressing it. I'm being specific in this part. So don't just say it's not valid. Show why it's not valid. Give us an alternative explanation. What could be going on? And once we've done that, we want to, again, not to forget to strengthen. That is, we want to strengthen the argument right here. So in doing so, we have here, the argument would have been stronger had it what? And then we talk about, well, the income level again. And it goes on to say, even then the argument would have to prove more. That wouldn't just be enough, but that even if the citizens of both cities had enough money, were wealthy, that the citizens of Littleville would actually spend it at the mall. Maybe they're more frugal. They have different buying habits. We'd have to know all these things. So again, you want to strengthen the argument is a part of each of the 3 paragraphs. Okay, that's the first fallacy. I'll go on with the second fallacy. You'll notice that this is also apples versus oranges, but we're dealing with a different apples and oranges. It's the construction zone versus the downtown district. If you'll remember, they're assuming that a newly constructed zone outside the city of Littleville is analogous to the downtown district of Vicksburg. And that, of course, is definitely an apples and oranges thing. So you want to highlight that here, and this is what this paragraph here does. And with this case, I didn't necessarily strengthen the argument. I just listed what was weak. But remember, after this ... what's going to come is the part where you strengthen the argument, show how had the argument provided certain facts, it would have been better. And we finally go on here to the third of our body paragraphs. And this one has a slightly different fallacy, which is the things change one. And the fallacy is economy is the same as 10 years ago. So how do we know what happens? Because things change. Things change over time, meaning that maybe the economy was much better 10 years ago when Vicksburg here opened its mall. Now what's happened to the economy? It's in the tank. So even if people have money, they're not necessarily spending. So you want to pick up on that as well. So that leads us then with the conclusion. Just keep it short and sweet. It's just like the intro. This is the least important part. Just put something there, write something that's more or less the boilerplate of the argument makes several unwarranted assumptions, something of that nature. And here we have exactly that. Because their argument makes several unwarranted assumptions, it fails to make a convincing case that Littleville's Mall will mirror the success of the one in Vicksburg. And that's all you need. Short and sweet. Again, the main point is the body, touching on those three, a fallacy for each paragraph, and showing how the argument would have been improved had it considered A, B, and C and provided more information about A, B, and C. But finally, here's the conclusion, and that is the argument task.